It started as a sound, barely noticeable at first, a faint, rhythmic buzzing, like a fly trapped behind glass. At 2:17 in the morning, Emily sat up in bed, her heart thudding against her ribs. The noise wasn't coming from her room, it was coming from inside her ear. She tilted her head, trying to shake it away. Maybe it was tinnitus, that phantom ringing people get from stress or too much coffee. But when she pressed her hand over her ear, the sound grew louder. It wasn't ringing, it was moving. Her boyfriend, Liam, was still asleep beside her. She nudged him, whispering, "Do you hear that?" He mumbled something incoherent and turned over. Emily got up, pacing the dark room. The buzzing changed direction, like something crawling deeper inside. She grabbed a Q-tip from the bathroom, squinting into the mirror under harsh fluorescent light. Nothing. Just her own reflection, tired eyes, messy hair, and a look of growing panic. The sound came again. Louder. Faster. She dropped the Q-tip. Now it wasn't just buzzing, it was scratching. Emily gasped, pressing her palm to the side of her head. It was like tiny feet scraping against her eardrum. Every movement sent a pulse of pain down her neck. She stumbled backward, clutching the counter for balance. Her stomach churned. She thought about insects she'd seen on the news, people who woke up with roaches, beetles, or spiders crawling out of their ears. It couldn't be that. Not her. But the scratching was real. By the time she woke Liam again, tears had filled her eyes. "Something's in my ear," she said, voice trembling. "I can feel it moving." He sat up, alarmed now, staring at her pale face. They tried to look inside with a phone flashlight, but all they could see was a shadow, something small, deep, and twitching. Liam pulled back. "We're going to the hospital, now." The drive was a blur, the buzzing growing louder with every turn of the wheels, every streetlight flickering past. Emily pressed a tissue to her ear, as if that could muffle the sound. But it only made it worse. The thing inside seemed to push back, angry at the pressure. When they reached the emergency room, the triage nurse took one look at her and led her straight to a room. Emily sat in the exam chair, trembling, as the doctor fetched an otoscope. He peered inside her ear and froze. His expression shifted from calm professionalism to something else, a flicker of disbelief. Then, concern. "Don't move," he said quietly. Emily's breath hitched. "What is it?" He didn't answer right away. He motioned for a nurse. "I need irrigation tools," he murmured. "Now." The nurse hurried out, and the doctor took a step back, lowering his voice. "There's something alive in there," he said carefully. "Looks like an insect, possibly a spider." Emily's blood ran cold. Her hands began to shake uncontrollably. "Get it out," she whispered. "Please get it out." The doctor nodded, his face tightening. "We'll try, but don't panic. Sudden movement could drive it deeper." As the nurse returned with the irrigation kit, the buzzing intensified, turning into a low, frantic vibration. Emily could feel the thing thrashing, as if it knew what was coming. The doctor aimed the water syringe at her ear and said, "Hold still." Emily closed her eyes. The first flush of cool water sent a jolt of pain through her skull. She bit her lip, fighting a scream. Something moved. And then, the doctor leaned closer, squinting at the basin below. His face went pale. Emily opened her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Is it out?" she asked. The doctor didn't answer immediately. He looked from the basin back to her, then whispered, "It's moving." The doctor stared at the basin for several long seconds, frozen. The faint shape glistened beneath the water's surface, dark, twisted legs unfurling slowly like something waking from a dream. Emily strained to see. "What is it?" she whispered, voice hoarse. The doctor finally spoke. "It's a spider," he said. "A small one, but alive." The nurse gasped softly. The spider, drenched and trembling, tried to climb the slick walls of the metal tray. It slipped, legs twitching in frantic bursts. Emily's breath caught in her throat. For a moment, the entire room was silent, except for the faint metallic ping of the creature's legs against the tray. Then the buzzing sound came again. But it wasn't from the basin. Emily froze. Her hand went to her other ear. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." The doctor's eyes widened. "Hold on. Are you hearing it again?" She nodded, panic rising. "It's still there. I swear it's still moving." The doctor grabbed the otoscope and looked again, deeper this time. His brows furrowed. "There's something else." Liam stepped forward. "Another spider?" The doctor didn't answer. He turned to the nurse. "Get me suction." Emily's heart raced as the sound grew louder, the same relentless buzz, now paired with faint clicking. Her whole skull felt alive, vibrating with the rhythm of movement. The nurse hurried back with a suction tube, and the doctor steadied Emily's head. "Stay perfectly still," he warned. "If it moves further in, it could damage your eardrum." The suction started with a hiss. The doctor worked carefully, his gloved hands steady but tense. The sound filled the small exam room, the hum of the device, the shallow breath of everyone waiting. Emily winced as the pressure in her ear shifted, her teeth clenching against the pain. The doctor adjusted the tube slightly, his eyes narrowing through the magnifying scope. Then he saw it. It wasn't a spider, not anymore. The thing attached to her ear canal shimmered faintly, its small, bulbous body pulsing with a wet, rhythmic movement, like breathing. Tiny filaments extended from it, anchoring it deep inside. The doctor froze. "Oh my God!" "What is it?" Liam demanded, stepping closer. "Don't move," the doctor hissed. "It's attached. If I pull too fast..." Before he could finish, Emily screamed. The thing bit her. Her whole body convulsed as a sharp pain shot through the side of her face. She clutched at the chair, gasping, as blood trickled down her neck. The doctor jerked back, alarmed. "Stop the suction!" the nurse shouted. The buzzing intensified, becoming a shrill, unbearable whine. Emily's vision blurred. She felt something crawling just beneath her skin, a prickling sensation spreading toward her jaw. Then, suddenly, silent. The sound stopped. The buzzing, the clicking, all of it, gone. Emily slumped forward, shaking, her breaths ragged. The doctor leaned in again, shining the light down the ear canal. Whatever had been there, it wasn't moving anymore. He exhaled shakily. "I think it's dead." Liam held Emily's hand, his thumb trembling against her knuckles. "You're okay," he whispered. "It's over." But it wasn't. The nurse set the basin aside, but as she turned to discard the spider, she froze. "Doctor," she said quietly. He looked over, and his heart dropped. The spider in the tray was gone. The water rippled faintly, as if something had just crawled out. A trail of moisture led off the edge of the metal basin, down the counter, and disappeared behind a cabinet. The doctor's throat tightened. "Seal this room," he ordered, "now." But even as the nurse reached for the door, something scuttled across the floor too fast to see, only the flicker of shadow and the faint scrape of legs against tile. Emily clutched her ear again, her pupils dilated. "Liam," she whispered. "It's inside again." They moved Emily to a private observation room by morning. Her ear was bandaged, and a faint bruise marked the side of her face. The doctors said the wound was surface level. They told her the spider had been removed, that she was safe now. But Emily didn't feel safe. Every time the air conditioner clicked on, she swore she heard that faint buzzing again. Not loud, just enough to remind her of what had been inside. A ghost sound, a vibration that lived somewhere between memory and bone. Liam sat by her bedside, trying to smile. "You need rest," he said softly. "You've been through hell." She nodded, staring at the wall clock. Each tick of the second hand seemed to echo in her head, deeper and deeper. She pressed the pillow against her ear, but the sound didn't stop. It never stopped. That afternoon, a new doctor entered, tall, calm, with a clipboard tucked under one arm. His name badge read Dr. Kessler. He introduced himself with a gentle smile. "You had quite an unusual experience, Emily. I've reviewed your scans." She looked up, eyes weary. "Is there something wrong?" He hesitated before answering. "There's an anomaly on your MRI. Probably nothing. Could be inflammation from the bite." "Probably," she repeated. He offered a rehearsed chuckle. "Just precautionary. We'll run another scan tonight." As he left the room, Emily caught a glimpse of something odd in his notes. A small symbol circled in red ink. A shape that looked almost like a web. She frowned. "What was that?" she asked. But the door had already closed. That night, sleep refused to come. The steady beep of the monitor by her bed pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Liam had dozed off in the chair, head tilted back, soft snore breaking the silence. Emily touched her bandaged ear. It felt warm, too warm. Then she heard it again. A faint scratching. This time, it wasn't just a sound. It was movement. Slow, deliberate. Beneath her skin. She sat up sharply, hand trembling against her face. The movement slid from her ear to her jawline like a ripple under flesh. Her breathing quickened. "No," she whispered. "No, no." The scratching grew stronger. Something pressed from the inside, just below her cheekbone. Her skin bulged slightly, a faint outline of something crawling beneath. Emily clamped her hands over her face, stifling a scream. The heart monitor spiked. Liam jolted awake. "Emily? What's wrong?" She turned toward him, eyes wide and glistening. "It's still there," she cried. "I can feel it." He ripped off the bandage and gasped. Her ear canal was swollen, red, and faintly twitching like something pulsing just below the surface. He hit the call button. Nurses rushed in, followed by Dr. Kessler, his calm demeanor gone. He ordered immediate sedation. As they restrained her gently to the bed, Emily's voice cracked with terror. "It's not just one. There's more. I can hear them." Her cry faded as the sedative took hold, her limbs going limp. Dr. Kessler exhaled, glancing toward the monitor. Then, quietly, he motioned for the nurse to leave. Once alone, he turned off the light and shone a small penlight into Emily's ear. His jaw tightened. Deep inside, something glimmered. Tiny, translucent threads spread across the inner tissue, connecting veins to nerve endings. They moved barely perceptible, but alive. He straightened slowly, face pale. "Not again," he muttered under his breath. He pulled out his phone and made a single call. "It's Kessler. We've got another one." There was silence on the other end, then a voice low, cold, and familiar. "How far along?" He hesitated. "It's starting to spread. Contain it. No reports. You know the protocol." Kessler hung up, glancing at Emily's still body under the dim hospital light. Something in her ear twitched again. A faint shimmer moved down her neck, almost invisible under the skin. And then, very faintly, a whisper. So soft, it could have been imagined. But it came from her ear. And it said her name. Dr. Kessler walked down the dim hospital hallway, the soles of his shoes whispering against the polished tile. The phone call echoed in his head. "Contain it. No reports." He'd heard those words before. He stopped outside Emily's room, glancing through the observation window. She was still unconscious, her face pale against the pillow, an IV trailing from her wrist. Kessler's fingers trembled slightly as he reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a small vial glass, unmarked, filled with a faint amber fluid. Inside, tiny particles shimmered like dust suspended in sunlight. He stared at it for a moment, then slipped it back into his pocket and walked away. In the observation bay, Nurse Calder watched him leave. She frowned, then turned back to Emily's monitors. Her pulse was steady, but her brain activity spiked sharp bursts of electrical interference, almost like feedback. Calder leaned closer. "What are you dreaming about?" she murmured. Inside the dream, Emily was standing in her childhood bedroom. The light was dim, the air heavy with static. She heard the sound again, that low, steady buzzing. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. She turned toward the mirror. In her reflection, something moved behind her ear beneath the skin. A faint, silver thread stretching down her neck, glowing faintly in the dark. She reached up, her fingers trembling as they brushed the mark. It pulsed once. Then her reflection smiled, but she didn't. Emily woke up screaming. Liam rushed to her bedside, grabbing her hand. "It's okay, you're safe." Her breathing came in ragged bursts. "It's inside me," she gasped. "It's not gone. I saw it." Dr. Kessler appeared in the doorway almost instantly, his voice calm but firm. "Miss Harlow, you experienced a hallucination brought on by stress and sedation. You're safe now." But Emily's eyes told another story. "You're lying," she whispered. He held her gaze for a moment too long before replying, "You need rest." After he left, Liam looked at her, confused. "What did you mean he's lying?" She turned her head slightly, her voice barely audible. "I heard him. On the phone. He said another one." Liam frowned. "Another what?" She swallowed hard. "Another person, like me." That night, while Liam slept in the chair again, Emily slipped out of bed. Her legs were weak, but her fear was stronger. She followed the corridor toward the restricted wing, the one marked with a red stripe and a keypad lock. The buzzing in her ear guided her. It was faint but rhythmic, like it was leading her somewhere. She stopped outside a half-open door. Inside, she saw Dr. Kessler under a single flickering light, speaking in hushed tones to two men in lab coats. "Symbiotic reaction," one said. "We thought the host tissue would reject it, but it's adapting." Kessler replied, "The neural activity is stronger than before. It's learning faster." The second man frowned. "Does she know?" Kessler shook his head. "No. And she can't." Emily's stomach turned. She pressed her hand against the wall to steady herself, her heartbeat echoing in her ear. Then, from inside the room, a faint metallic scratching. She peeked around the corner. Behind them, in a glass containment tank, something moved. Dozens of small dark shapes clustered together, crawling over one another, their bodies glistening like oil. They weren't normal spiders. Their legs were too long, their movements too synchronized. And in the dim light, Emily could see thin, silver threads connecting them, pulsing softly, like veins. Her breath caught. The sound of her heartbeat filled the silence. Kessler turned suddenly. "Who's there?" She darted back, pressing herself against the wall. Footsteps approached, quick and sharp. She turned to run, but something stopped her. A sharp pain in her ear. The buzzing flared again, louder than before. Her vision blurred. The hallway twisted, lights flickering like strobes. She stumbled, clutching her head. Voices filled her mind, whispers, layered and overlapping. Dozens of them. "Don't fight it. We're home. You let us in." Emily fell to her knees, gasping, the world spinning around her. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. The lights stabilized. The buzzing went silent. When she looked up, Dr. Kessler was standing over her. His face was unreadable. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. Emily stared at him, trembling. "What are they?" He didn't answer. He just reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the vial. The amber liquid shimmered faintly. "Something older than us," he said. "And smarter." She tried to move, but her limbs were heavy, her mind foggy. Kessler sighed. "You weren't supposed to wake up yet." He snapped his fingers once. A nurse appeared behind him, holding a syringe. The last thing Emily saw before darkness swallowed her again was the faint reflection of herself in the hallway glass, and the small, silvery thread stretching from her ear to the floor. When Emily woke again, she wasn't in the hospital anymore. The room was smaller, darker. No windows, just concrete walls and a single light overhead, flickering with a quiet buzz. Her wrists were strapped to the bed, not tightly, just enough to remind her she wasn't going anywhere. The air smelled like antiseptic and metal. She whispered to herself, "Where am I?" A camera in the corner whirred softly, adjusting its lens. Somewhere behind it, someone was watching. For a long time, nothing happened. Then the intercom crackled. "Emily," a familiar voice said, "you need to stay calm." It was Dr. Kessler. Her heart began to race. "What did you do to me?" she shouted. "You were infected," he replied. "We're trying to help you." "Infected with what?" There was a pause. Then the sound of static, like the microphone had been turned away. Finally, his voice came back, quieter this time. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." 20 years earlier, Dr. Kessler wasn't a doctor at all. He was a graduate researcher working under a private biotech firm called Helix Dynamics. Their project had been simple in theory: neural regeneration, using genetically modified arachnid enzymes to stimulate damaged nerve tissue. But something went wrong. During a late-night trial on lab mice, one of the specimens escaped containment. When they found it the next morning, it wasn't the same. The neural tissue had fused with the arachnid sample, a living hybrid of nerve and silk. And it was moving on its own. Helix shut the project down the next day. Officially, it never happened. But Kessler couldn't let it go. He kept one sample hidden, frozen, forgotten. Until 3 months ago. When the first patient came in complaining of buzzing in the ear. Flashback ends return to the concrete room ambience. Emily's voice cracked through the silence. "I'm not your experiment." The intercom hissed softly. Then Kessler replied, "You're not. You're the result." She shook her head, panic flooding her chest. "You put something inside me." "No," he said. "It chose you." Before she could respond, the door opened with a metallic groan. A nurse entered, not the same one as before. This one wore a black uniform and no name tag. She carried a small case and a handheld scanner. "Hold still," she said. Emily tried to pull away, but the straps held firm. The nurse pressed the scanner to the side of her head. A low hum filled the air. The screen flickered with static, then displayed something pulsing, a faint, web-like structure spreading through her inner ear. "Neural threads are active," the nurse muttered. "Signal coherence at 80%. Kessler's voice came over the intercom again. "It's growing faster than expected." Emily's body tensed. "Take it out," she begged. "Please." "You don't understand," Kessler said. "If we remove it now, it could sever part of your auditory cortex. You might not survive." Her eyes filled with tears. "Then kill it." Silence. Then, softly, he said, "We tried that before." Hours passed, or maybe days. There was no way to tell time down there. Emily began hearing whispers again. Faint, insect-like murmurs that came in waves. They weren't just in her ear anymore. They were inside her thoughts. Sometimes, they said her name. Other times, they just listened. When she closed her eyes, she saw flashes, dark tunnels lined with webs that pulsed like veins. Something alive moved within them, something vast. She woke from one of those visions to the sound of the door opening again. Dr. Kessler stepped inside. No clipboard this time, no lab coat, just dark eyes and exhaustion. He sat in the chair beside her bed. "Do you know why they chose you, Emily?" She glared at him. "Because you let them." He sighed. "Because you could hear them." "What are you talking about?" He leaned forward. "Most people's brains filter the frequency out. You didn't. You heard the call. That's why they came." Emily's voice trembled. "They?" Kessler hesitated. Then he whispered, "They're not insects. Not anymore. There's something else, something that uses us to build. Emily's pulse quickened. Build what? Before he could answer, the light overhead flickered. Then it went out. Darkness swallowed the room. From somewhere behind the walls came the sound of soft, rhythmic crawling, hundreds of tiny legs moving in perfect unison. Kessler stood slowly, flashlight trembling in his hand. Stay still, he whispered. The buzzing started again, louder this time, not from her ear, from everywhere. The walls themselves began to hum. Emily screamed. It's awake. Red light flooded the corridor. A siren wailed somewhere above the concrete ceiling, long, mechanical, unfeeling. Dr. Kessler gripped his flashlight tighter as dust drifted down in lazy spirals. Containment breach. A distorted intercom announced. Level C lockdown engaged. He turned to Emily. She was half sitting on the bed, straps hanging loose, burned through, as if dissolved from the inside. Her eyes were open, glassy with reflected crimson. Emily, he said carefully. Can you hear me? She blinked once. They're coming, she whispered. A low tremor rolled through the floor, soft at first, then building. Kessler glanced toward the hallway door. Something was moving in the ventilation shafts above them, the metal rattling in short bursts. Stay behind me, he said, though his own hands were shaking. The vent cover above the far wall dropped open. From the dark slit spilled a thin web of silver filaments, glistening in the emergency light. They spread fast, like roots searching for soil. Kessler stumbled backward, pulling a compact torch from his belt. He flicked it on, bathing the threads in searing blue UV. The silk hissed, curling in on itself like something alive in pain. Emily flinched. Don't hurt them, she cried. Kessler froze. What did you just say? She clutched her head. They're scared. He stared at her, horrified. You can feel them? They're hungry, she whispered. And you keep killing them. Before he could respond, the door burst inward. Nurse Calder stumbled through, blood smeared down one sleeve. They're everywhere, she gasped. They came through the vents, through the wiring. Her words cut off as something small and black dropped from the ceiling onto her shoulder. It wasn't quite a spider, its body shimmered like wet glass, its eyes reflecting the emergency light in facets of silver. Calder screamed and tore at it, but a second creature landed on her neck. Then a third. Kessler grabbed Emily's arm. We have to move. They sprinted into the hallway. The lights flickered between red and darkness. Shadows moved along the walls, thin, twitching, many-legged shapes that flowed rather than crawled. Behind them, the nurses' screams dissolved into a single high-pitched static. They reached the service elevator, its doors half open and sparking. Kessler pried them wider and helped Emily inside. He smashed the up button. The elevator lurched, then shuddered to life, rising through the dim shaft. Emily pressed her hands over her ears. They're still talking, she said. What are they saying? She hesitated. They want to build. They need space. Kessler's stomach tightened. Space for what? Before she could answer, the elevator lights died. The car jolted to a stop between floors. A moment later, something thumped against the roof. Then another. Tiny shapes skittered across the metal, their movement so synchronized it sounded like rain. Kessler aimed the UV torch upward. Get back, he said. The roof panel dented inward. Then it tore open. Dozens of the creatures poured through the gap, each one smaller than a hand, yet impossibly fast. Threads sprayed from their abdomens, anchoring to the elevator walls. Emily screamed as one landed on her arm. Instead of biting, it froze its legs, splaying gently across her skin. The silver filaments extended, burrowing beneath the surface like smoke drawn into water. Kessler swung the UV beam toward it. Hold still! But Emily grabbed his wrist, eyes wide with terror. If you burn them, you burn me. He hesitated long enough for another spider to land on his shoulder. He crushed it instantly, but a sharp sting burned through his glove. When he pulled his hand away, the creature's body dissolved into threads that melted into his skin. Pain surged up his arm. The UV torch fell, clattering against the floor. Its light flickered across the walls, revealing webs everywhere, glistening, pulsing faintly with a heartbeat that wasn't theirs. Emily looked at him, voice breaking. "It's too late, isn't it?" Kessler's breath came shallow. "No," he whispered, "not yet." He grabbed the emergency latch and forced the doors open. The elevator was only halfway between floors. He pushed Emily upward, helping her climb out into a dark maintenance corridor. Then he hauled himself through. Below them, the elevator filled with light. The webs inside ignited in blue flame as the UV torch overheated, burning itself out. The creatures shrieked in frequencies too high for the ear metal bending, glass cracking. The light vanished, leaving only silence. Emily leaned against the wall, shaking. Kessler looked at his arm, the veins beneath his skin now faintly glowing silver. He met her eyes. "If we don't stop this now, it spreads beyond the building." Her voice trembled. "How?" "We kill the signal." "What signal?" He stared down the dark corridor where the emergency lights pulsed like a slow heartbeat. "The hive,"